Ninja. Masters of the Shadow. Ninjutsu. Silent forces. They once ruled the world, village after village. However, they mysteriously disappeared.
So as most of you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Naruto. I mean, anyone can really tell that just by looking at my name. And as we know, within the world of Naruto exists the ninja, or shinobi, as it's called in the show. Now, the ninja represented in Naruto are a bit different than the ordinary ninja, considering the fact that, well... You get the point. I've always been a fan of the whole ninja culture, I guess you could say. Just the whole concept of a mercenary that uses stealth to take out their opponents. It's a pretty cool idea, and I think that the concept, when translated into a game, is even more awesome. But the game we're talking about today is a bit different than your average ninja stealth game, and more similar to a Naruto game that goes by the name Naruto to Boruto Shinobi Striker. Yup, the very game that actually started and grew this channel to what it is today. We are talking about a game that has recently caught my attention and sparked a deep interest in me. A game called Ninjala.
Let's crank the heat up, speeding right through the race. We zoom in every time we skate. I'm aiming for first place. I'm hungry, ready to rumble. My competition's in trouble. They spinning, they skiing double. Let's enter the beat jungle, yeah. Jungle. 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 Deep underneath the streets, underneath the golden bridge. Can't hold it back, I can't fight it, no, I cannot resist. It's time to speed up, try your best to keep up. Shooting gumballs on the track, quicker than a ninja. Feel so invincible, I'm doing things my way. Don't matter if it's day or night, I'm always ready to play. Let's go.
So I was actually introduced to this game a few days ago by a friend of mine, Soldrin, who some of you guys might know already from our past collabs. He's already started to make content on Ninjala, so I'll leave a link down below to his channel if you guys want to check him out. But like I was saying, I hopped into his stream, which happened to be the exact day Ninjala had its first open beta. We're going to talk about how the beta turned out later, but anyways, when I asked what Ninjala was, he said it was a free-to-play Splatoon / Shinobi Striker type game for the Nintendo Switch. Huh? Basically, if those two games had a child, that would pretty much be what Ninjala was. And as soon as I saw the gameplay, I knew exactly what he was talking about. It instantly reminded me of Shinobi Striker just by looking at the HUD. I mean, here's a side-by-side picture of Shinobi Striker on the left and Ninjala on the right. Pretty similar, huh? And of course, the Splatoon side of things really just comes from the art style and characters. It's a really colorful game with kids running around beating the shit out of each other. And that's pretty much it for the similarities between those two games, because the actual game itself is very unique. Unique to the point where it's almost weird. Let me explain. So most of my audience probably knows what game Shinobi Striker is, but for those who don't, it's an online 4v4 multiplayer Naruto game. Shinobi Striker is actually a pretty weird and unique game itself. Being a Naruto game, it definitely does not look like or play like any of the previous Naruto installments that came before. One of the many reasons why I enjoy that game so much and still respect it today is because of how different it is. The movement, combat, graphics, everything about that game is very unique, but only being unique is not going to make a masterpiece. Shinobi Striker had many flaws that ultimately made it a below average game, at least for most people. If it didn't have the name Naruto in its title, then you're just left with a pretty meh type of game. Still, it was a pretty bold decision to make a game like Shinobi Striker and try something new. And it looks like this next game, Ninjala, takes the formula and idea of Shinobi Striker, rips out the Naruto name, and well, makes it a whole lot better. Now, I have no idea if the developers for this game even know what Shinobi Striker is, but if they did, I wouldn't be that surprised. The similarities between SS and Ninjala are very noticeable, but not anywhere near the point where it becomes a carbon copy or anything like that. First, there's the actual lore of the games. Shinobi Striker is a Naruto game that can also be considered a ninja game, and Ninjala, well, it's Ninjala. And also, speaking of lore, Ninjala actually has its own entire backstory, which was explained in an animated short they did a while back on the official Ninjala YouTube channel. I highly recommend you go watch it if you're at all interested in this game, because it does a good job giving you a sense of knowledge for what you're playing and kind of makes sense of why it's such a weird game. Kinda. I'll explain the lore a bit later, but yeah, if you want to go check it out, the video will be linked in the description as well. Now, moving on with the similarities between Shinobi Striker and Ninjala. Next, there's the combat. In Shinobi Striker, you are able to use ninjutsu, ultimate ninjutsu, and also substitution jutsu. Of course, there's also the actual combos that can change depending on what type of weapon you're using, or if you're using one at all. With Ninjala, it's not the exact same, but still pretty alike. The combat in Ninjala definitely has more depth, which is something Shinobi Striker's combat lacked. It was one of the game's biggest problems. Instead of having 4 Shinobi classes that all have different ninjutsu, Ninjala has 4 weapon classes that all have their own set of ninjutsu. This is something that I think will work 10 times better. In Shinobi Striker, you had the option to choose from many ninjutsu depending on your class and customize your loadout to your preference. If you wanted to use Rasengan with Almighty Push, you could do that. If you wanted to use Chidori with a Summoning Salamander, you could do that. Now, it sounds like the game giving you all that freedom is actually a good thing, but it's not. First of all, meta in the game basically looked like a bunch of people using the exact same builds solely meant for the purpose of getting kills. So instead of a lot of people experimenting and finding their own preferred build, it was usually the exact opposite. Second of all, because there were so many different ninjutsu, balance became a problem. Whenever a new jutsu was introduced to the game via DLC, there would always be some sort of build you could make using that jutsu that would break the game. So developers always had to nerf or buff jutsu with every update. The way Ninjala solves this problem is by having 4 classes that, like I said, have their own set of ninjutsu. So if there's ever a problem with the balance of a weapon class, all you would have to do is nerf that class. Now, you might think only having 4 classes is a bit underwhelming, which it is, but I'm sure as hell there will be more implemented into the game. There were only 4 classes in the beta, but the fully released game will likely have more. I mean, just look at all that empty space. Oh, and before I get ahead of myself, the 4 classes consist of the katana, drill, hammer, and yo-yo. Just with those, there's already something for everybody. And yes, I know most of the weapons don't look like what they're actually called. I mean, the katana does not look like a katana at all. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what that actually is, but there will be more skins for the weapons once the game's actually released. I really hope there's a skin for the katana that actually looks like a real katana, but it's possible that might not happen since the game tends to be a bit more PG. Hey yo, but they do have a real katana in the trailer, so I mean, like, it's still possible. Anyways, I won't be explaining the entirety of the combat in this video. If you want to know how everything works, I'll leave a link in the description to Soldier's video on his impressions of the beta, where he goes more in depth about the combat system. But to finish talking about the combat, I need to talk about Gum. The backstory of the game explains that modern day ninja, who are descendants of ninja that were basically wiped out over hundreds of years, exist and walk the streets today. A group of these modern day ninja create a gum that's able to give them superhuman powers and the ability to use gum as a weapon. Yeah, gum. So within Ninjala, gum is basically your best buddy. You use it to make your weapons bigger, which makes them stronger. You use it for your ninjutsu, you use it for faster movement, and you even use it to turn into a bush. That's actually a really cool mechanic they added into the game, a transformation ninjutsu. I don't know how useful it's gonna be to turn into objects and hide, but hey, it's cool. So yeah, that's pretty much what gum in this game does. It's definitely a weird concept, but also a unique one as well. Oh, and one more thing I will say on the combat is there are actually shinobi cards that you can use which do basically the exact sort of thing clothing did in Shinobi Striker. Things like decreasing cooldown times and just different boosts that can help you in battle. Moving on to the last thing I think can be considered similar between SS and Ninjala is the movement. In SS you can run up walls, and in Ninjala you can run up walls. Shinobi Striker uses wire kunai to get around faster, and Ninjala uses gum to get around faster. And that's pretty much it for the game's similarities. I think that with a more in-depth combat system, Ninjala is just a better game. As far as we've seen, the modes consist of a battle royale type mode, which is basically an 8-person free-for-all where everyone is the enemy, and a 4v4 team battle mode, which was not playable in the beta. So pretty solid modes, but of course there has to be more coming, and I can't wait to see what type of new modes they implement into the game. I think a hardpoint or a King of the Hill could work perfectly in this game, but moving on, the game also has pretty good character customization. You start by picking from 8 different characters that all have their own backstory and lore, which is something that I always appreciate, and you can change almost everything from hair color, skin color, and eye color. You're also able to customize your hair type, accessories, facial expression, and voice. Just a side note, but one of the accessories is actually a ninja headband. That's pretty dank. You can change how your Ipun looks, which is the text that pops up when you KO impale somebody when they're stuck in gum. There's also your outfit and many other things that you can customize. I think the customization definitely has enough depth to where everyone can have their own unique look. And yeah, that's basically what Ninjala is. I think this is a game that anyone with a Nintendo Switch should definitely check out, especially because it's free to play. If you're wondering how the developers are going to make money, it's going to be through a season pass system for cosmetics and things like that. So very similar to a game like Fortnite, which is, in my opinion, a good thing. A lot of people don't like Fortnite because it's such an overly saturated and popular game, which makes sense, but to be completely honest, it's a pretty good game. It gets a lot of support, a lot of updates, and I think having cosmetics as the only thing people are going to be paying for is actually really smart. Ninjala could definitely become the next big Nintendo Switch game, and I can't wait for it to actually come out. They recently had a beta for the game, which wasn't the best beta in the world. It had some severe server problems, which I'm sure they can solve before the game actually drops. It was originally going to drop at the end of this month on the 27th, but due to the recent issues with the virus, they just delayed the release to June 24th. If you enjoyed playing Shinobi Striker but was disappointed by it and have a Nintendo Switch, I think this game is perfect for you. I will be making content on Ninjala when it drops, but until then, I'll be waiting for this game, and I hope you will too. It's actually kind of crazy because I had no idea and I had no knowledge of this game even existing, and as soon as I got introduced into it, I instantly became a fanboy. I'm following Ninjala on Twitter, I subscribe to them on their YouTube channel. I'm just keeping up to date with what happens and what they when they release and things like that. Let me know what y'all think about this game in the comments below. Do y'all like the art style? What do y'all like about the game? Do you think you will be purchasing this game? Do you have a Nintendo Switch? I did ask y'all if you had a Nintendo Switch, and quite a few of you guys did say yes, so I hope that y'all could be playing this game while watching me playing it as well. But yeah, I think making content on this game is gonna be really fun. I can't wait for the collabs, for the clan battles if that happens. I think that I'm pretty sure the game actually has custom matchmaking mode, which will just make it way easier to set up clan battles and things like that. So yeah, I'm super excited for this game, but first I need to actually buy a Switch because I kind of don't have one.
はい、忍者の世界にはちょっとこの恥ずかしい忍術もあるのでですね、皆さんもぜひ気をつけてください。
これはアイスクリームですかね。
だと思います。はい。はい、で負けてもですね、このゲーム